You called me cold, too serious, too sensitive. But no one ever asked why I was always on guard. You grew up believing you were the problem. Too much, too distant, too intense, too quiet. You learned to explain over and over. Because when people don't see your pain, you start narrating your survival. And the more you explain, the more invisible you feel. Because they're not listening, they're judging. They're waiting for you to stop talking so they can say, just relax. Stop being so dramatic. You always make things complicated. They don't want to understand you. They want you to fit them. But you can't. Not because you're broken, but because you were built for depth, not noise. And that makes them uncomfortable. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to stop explaining yourself to people who never cared in the first place, and finally start speaking to the one person who matters, you. You walk into a room and you already feel it. The gaze, the subtle shift, the judgment sitting quietly in the corners. Maybe you smile too quickly. Maybe your voice tightens when you speak, or you don't speak at all. Not because you have nothing to say, but because your mouth forgot how to move under pressure. And when you finally do say something real, something raw, they blink, pause, change the subject. So you explain. You over-explain. You talk about your childhood, your trauma, your diagnosis, your triggers, your tone. You soften your voice. You add disclaimers. You laugh before they do, just to cushion the blow. You give them your whole internal world wrapped in careful words, just hoping they'll see you. They don't. They see too sensitive. They see dramatic. They see difficult. But you know what's actually happening? You're asking to be heard in a language they never bothered to learn. You don't owe them a translation. You don't owe them your medical history. You don't owe them a personality rebrand. You don't owe anyone the play-by-play of why you flinch when someone raises their voice. You don't need to justify your boundaries, your silence, your stimming, your need for space, your sensory limits, your deep inner world. You are not a crime scene that needs investigating. Here's the truth most people never say out loud. Explaining yourself to someone who's not safe will only make you feel more unsafe. They'll take your softest parts and twist them into weapons. They'll make your pain about their discomfort. They'll tell you you're too emotional right after stepping on your heart. So you become the translator, the peacemaker, the explainer. Because deep down, you think maybe if you just word it right, they'll finally get it. They won't. Because they were never listening to understand. They were listening to win. So how do you stop? How do you unlearn the habit of turning yourself into a TED Talk every time someone doesn't get you? You stop explaining and you start observing. Watch how people respond to your boundaries. Watch what they do when you go quiet. Watch what they do when you say, I need space. Watch what happens when you tell the truth. And then believe them. Not their words, their reactions. Because safe people won't make you perform. They won't make you rehearse your feelings in palatable ways. They won't punish you for being authentic. Now breathe with me for a second, because this next part hurts in a different way. You think you're talking to them, the friend who doesn't call back, the parent who dismisses your feelings, the colleague who jokes about your silence like it's some kind of flaw to be teased. But you're not. You're really talking to you. To the younger version of you who sat on the edge of the bed, legs swinging off the side, wondering why it always felt like love came with conditions. To the you who got good at smiling just enough, not too much, because too much was weird. To the version who memorized how to shrink, in voice, in body, in need, just to keep peace in the room. You're still hoping they'll come back and say the thing they never said. I see you. I'm sorry I didn't try harder to understand you. You never had to explain. I just should have listened better. But they don't say that. And you keep waiting. And while you wait, you explain, over and over. You narrate your nervous system like a tour guide to someone who's not even on the bus. You try to make them see why you freeze when someone raises their voice. Why crowded rooms make your skin crawl. Why you cancel last minute. Why you talk too much when you're anxious, or not at all. But really, you're still in that kitchen at 9 years old, trying to tell your mom why you cried at school. And she's too busy, or too tired, or too overwhelmed to care. You're still that teenager, rehearsing your words before walking into the lunchroom, hoping no one notices the trimmer in your hands. You're still that young adult in your first job, trying to explain to your boss why you need headphones to concentrate and watching him smirk like you just asked for a gold-plated throne. That's who you're explaining to. A ghost audience made up of everyone who didn't see you when it counted. Everyone who made you feel like being misunderstood was your fault. And that version of you, the inner one who's been performing for scraps of safety, they're not just tired, they're bone-deep weary. They've been dancing on the edge of other people's comfort for decades, hoping not to fall off. And now they're standing in the wings, looking at you with tear-filled eyes, whispering, "Can we please stop? Can we just walk away from the spotlight even if no one claps? Can we be enough without explaining?" Because what they need isn't another speech. What they need is your hand, reaching back through time, saying, "I'm sorry they didn't hear you, but I do." And from now on, we don't perform for people who never cared. So what does healing look like? It's quiet at first. It looks like you getting up from a conversation that feels off, even if they call you rude. It looks like leaving a message on read because your energy isn't up for explaining today. It looks like pausing mid-sentence and thinking, do I actually need to say this? Or am I just scared of being misunderstood again? It looks like listening to your gut before their reaction, choosing peace over performance, choosing self-presence over being palatable. And over time, something incredible happens. The voice in your head that used to say more so they get it, begins to say less so you stay whole. You stop trying to control how they see you and start protecting how you see yourself. And maybe the world still doesn't get it. Maybe they still label you as too much, too blunt, too fragile, too distant. But their words don't stick anymore because you're no longer Velcro. You've replaced explanation with observation. You've replaced apology with discernment. You've replaced chronic self-editing with quiet inner safety. You know now, not everyone has the capacity for your depth. Not everyone can hold your truth without trying to shrink it. Not everyone deserves front-row access to your healing. And that's okay. Because the real revolution is not in making them understand you. It's in you understanding that you were never here to be easy. You were here to be real. You want to know what freedom looks like? It's walking into a room and not shrinking. It's sitting in silence without rushing to fill it. It's letting someone misunderstand you and choosing not to chase after their version of you.
It's letting your nervous system take up space. It's saying no and not offering footnotes. It's trusting that if they care, they'll ask. And if they don't, you've just been spared another room where you had to audition to belong. So here's your quiet permission slip. You don't need to explain the tremble in your voice. You don't need to decode your tears. You don't need to translate your discomfort into something they find acceptable. You only need to stand beside yourself and whisper, "I see you." You don't need to be understood by them. You just need to come home to you. And if that whisper felt like yours too, if some part of you breathed easier hearing it, then maybe, just maybe, this space is for you. There are more words like this, more truths we're not supposed to say out loud, more quiet revolutions.
And if your heart wants to stay, you'll know where to find us next time. And tell me, what do you want to hear next?